deceleration when we compare with the data in FY24 versus FY25. At this point in time, India is the fastest growing economy in the world. And when you look at the IMFs and the World Banks and all of the international organizations, when you look at the Western countries, everyone can see that India's growth has been resilient in many ways to the global cues that have been going on. We can see the number of warlike situations that are going on across the world at this point in time. We can see the sluggishness in global growth and global demand. And despite that, India continues its own trajectory. And in many ways, it's buoyed by private consumption, the domestic consumption that's happening in the Indian economy. It's buoyed by also, very interestingly, foreign direct investment coming in, the production linked incentive scheme continuing to deliver in many ways for the manufacturing sector. So I really wouldn't call it a glass half empty, but a glass half full.
What are we doing different from other economies? If you're saying that Indian story is far more better and beautiful than the other stories, then what are we doing different from China, Germany, United States of America? Because now the Niti Aayog chairman is saying that we are the fourth biggest economy now.
Absolutely. Today, we are the fourth largest economy in the world, and we're well on our way to becoming the third largest economy. Of course, it's only when the second or the first positions, start to come into contention that we need to worry. But we're well on the path to becoming the third largest economy in maybe the next 3 to 5 years. And I think there are 2 or 3 things, we've done differently. The first is, of course, the infrastructure push that has happened in the last decade. I mean, all of this growth wouldn't be possible if our growth had been concentrated in just 2 or 3 tier 1 cities. This growth is being delivered today by the tier 2 and tier 3 cities of India, by the MSME sector of India, where the deep manufacturing capability of India is coming to the fore. The second is when we look at the national logistics policy, the production linked incentive schemes, there are newer and newer sectors that are being prioritized, and also how we transport goods from one point to the other in the economy is being prioritized. This brings down the cost of trade, and that's very, very critical. And I think the third thing which becomes very critical for for delivering on this growth is really the vitality and the velocity of decision making. I mean, in the last 10 years, we've seen policy reforms not only by the central government, and I don't want to say it's only the central government. Yes, the central government has taken a very, very commendable lead in policy reforms, but it's also several state governments that have come in across party lines, across political hues, to say we want to go ahead, make doing business easier in our states. We want investment facilitation, we want trade facilitation, and this outward looking push of trade is also very critical.
Mitali, obviously we are not the manufacturing hub right now, the way China has become a manufacturing hub, or the way the so-called tiger economies became manufacturing hub in 1990s. What is the Indian challenge? Because there will be a transition. Right now we are benefiting from the age profile of the country, but this age profile is not going to be permanent. It's also going to change. We will also have an aging population like other European countries. So, like there was a Japanese challenge, there was a post-World War II challenge for the Europe. What's the Indian challenge?
So I think, the Indian challenge is really going to be sustainability. I think that is going to be one of our biggest, the Achilles heel, if you may. And I think if we start planning for it today, we may even actually turn that challenge into an opportunity. So the way I think about it is we are entering our fastest growth pace in an era of climate change, in an era of, just the amount of greenery and the greening of the economy that is required is much higher than any of the other economies that have done so well in the history of, or rather in economic history, since we started recording GDP numbers. So in this scenario, it is very critical for India to power its growth through sustainable energy, to power its growth through solar, wind, and other renewable energy sources, rather than only looking at coal sector and the traditional energy supplies. Also, we have to look at water supply. We have to look at ecosystem management, biodiversity, managing heat waves, and all all of this, honestly, is an opportunity because India has such an array of climate challenges to solve that it can create a whole private sector out of solving those challenges and then sell those innovations to the world, because other countries may not actually experience those issues until we do, and we may have already found indigenous cost effective solutions to them which can also be produced at a market scale. So I do feel that India has an unprecedented opportunity to take on this economics of climate change to the world and become solution providers.
It's a very specific question. You have been talking about climate change, but climate change and our economy are not two isolated things. In context, for example, automobile industry, and in sub-context of the EV sector, we are highly dependent on supply chains. I mean, to say in context of lithium, in context of construction of the engine, we are not independent of the global change. There can be pressures on our economy.
No, absolutely. And this is exactly what we have to now start to safeguard against and also start to invest in, is how do we diversify and become part of many global supply chains and also ensure not only energy security but also supply chain resilience, through these manufacturing capabilities. I do think that the call for Atmanirbhar Bharat becomes very critical, especially in light of the tariffs that are being, discussed. We know that Trump tariffs were announced on the 2nd of April. We know they were also rolled back, and now we don't know where we're going to land after the India-US trade deal is signed. So in such a scenario, India should not be dependent on too many other countries to say meet the needs of its own indigenous population. And I think this is where we have to look at supply chain resilience and see how many of the components, how many of the parts that we need can we actually manufacture locally.
Thank you, Mitali, for joining me on my show. Because and I would conclude by quoting you. It's not a case of glass half empty. I would say it's a case of glass half full. I think that should be the concluding note. Thank you so much. So this was all on Point tonight. I will see you at the same time on Monday. Thank you and good night.
Light, camera, and action. Kick back, relax, grab your favorite snack because News 9 is here with your weekend dose of entertainment. It's time to take a deeper dive into the buzzworthy happenings of the entertainment world. From celebrity gossips to exclusive conversations, from nostalgic moments to News 9's pick of the week. Don't worry,